Okay, right. So, my topic today, and this is going back to the fact that we have to talk about practical things that we do and things that we've learned along the way through our working life. Mine, as many of you, is that some people call me the networking queen. Some other people call me other things we can't say because we've been filmed. But before we start the presentation, which Frank has been changing something before, so let's see what he's done with my presentation. Can I ask, how many of you actually enjoy networking? Okay. How many, yeah, I would be surprised. How many of you don't like networking? And do it because you have to, really. You don't have a chance or a choice. Okay. Well, if I can change the mind of one or two of you when you go through that door later on, so I'll be very proud of myself. So before we start, so that's me, great, this division. Some of you may know me from the Innovation and Growth team, great. Let's move on to today. So Frank was talking about love, sex and innovation. My topic is about finding your partner, sometimes a friend, sometimes a mate for life. You never know what waits for you in a networking event. So what I like to ask from you is actually to actually have an open mind when you go to a networking event to begin with. Okay, so start thinking outside of the box, which is for me being innovative. So for me being innovative is not about learning processes, it's not about learning diagrams or graphs or anything like that. It's about being different, and being memorable, and making sure that people remember who you are by different attributes. And looking at what makes a partnership, which we'll look in a minute, because I've got another surprise for you. We're going to look at what makes a partnership, but before we go into making a partnership, we have to look at how we go into making a partnership. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, is how us go into making a partnership and how our profile is going to help us to be a bit more innovative when we go to a networking event and to take something away that maybe you weren't expecting to. The second surprise, apart from the slides, is that you've all got post-it notes on your table, because we said it was going to be a practical innovation talk. So in order to be a practical innovation talk, you are going to be using some of those post-it notes throughout the presentation. And don't panic, you'll be able to take it home and you will have a use for them. But I'm not going to tell you yet. Tony's smiling because he knows what this is about, and I've got a star pupil here who's done it many, many times, and I expect a perfect one by the end of the evening. So, first post-it note. You pick up the post-it note, first one. You've got 4, all of you. On the first post-it note, you're going to write what you're going to tell someone to pick their interest that is about your business. Okay, so what is it that makes your business interesting?
It's sexy. I was listening, Frank.
Being innovative. So what is it that makes your business interesting? Just one liner. I don't need any more. Okay? Good. There'll be another, well, you've got 4 post-it notes, so there's going to be 4 about them. But they're all throughout the presentation, because I thought it'd be a bit more exciting, and I'll keep you awake throughout the evening. Now, partnerships. The other thing is that I can't move, and I'm a fidgety. I hate being on the spot, and Frank has forbidden me to move. So you've got a partnership, but in order to get to the partnership, you've got an arrangement between the parties, and you agree to cooperate for beneficial, something that is beneficial for both of the parties. We're not looking at the arrangements, we're not looking at the interests, we are looking at actual parties, the members of that partnership, and how can we get to become partners in that one, or if not, at least great networker. And I'll be very happy if one of you send me an email in a few weeks saying, love networking now, can't wait to see you again. So once upon a time, we're going to be looking at partnerships. Good. For me to tell you about partnerships, I need to tell you a little bit about myself. And most of you who know me, I don't like talking about myself, really. Don't I, Wendy? I don't. Georgia. And it came out of, someone asked me what my formula was. But I don't have a formula to be myself or to develop the networking skills that I have or whatever it is. So I actually sat down and got a piece of paper and came up with 4 factors. And you're all going to have those 4 factors in yourselves. And by the end of today, you might change one of them, and you might become new people. You never know. So one factor is DNA, which goes back to Stuart's presentation, and the DNA in your the first employees in your company are the ones that are bringing the DNA to the company. The other one is your culture and your upbringing. The third one is fate, luck, and the fourth one is planning. So we've got 4. I've just broken the rule of 3 in presentations, but it doesn't matter because I can do that. So we look at DNA, and to look at DNA, you have to go back to the beginning of the 70s, on the 22nd of July, when a little baby girl was born in Granada, and she was called Maria Placida. And I was a product of the love, and other bits, of a man and a woman. And you haven't met my parents. Wendy has met my parents, and she knows they're quite peculiar and different and lively. My mother is very strong-willed, passionate about everything, as all Mediterranean women are. And she, now looking back, she was the one who was entrepreneur in the couple. She was the one who will always take the risk, and always told my dad he will do it, and he had to do it. My dad, who believes is the entrepreneur in their family, and that he wears the trousers, it's very much a comic. He's a fun person. He worked in catering, and he makes you laugh, and that's what he enjoys. So the final product was a mixture of a very strong woman with an entrepreneurial risk-taking mind, and a very, very comic man, and that's neat. So this is the result. So my DNA, by nature, when I was a child and until now, is that I'm very strong-willed, fun person. So that's my DNA. That what makes me a bit different. And I'm going to repeat a few words throughout the presentation that I want you to take away. And one of them is memorable. So whatever you do, which is with passion, or being lovable, or sexy, you have to be memorable. And who doesn't remember me once they meet me? No one. So, DNA aside. Now, I was talking to Stuart the other day about this, and he said, you have to use this example. So we do have, in my culture, upbringing, Spanish environment, which I've grown and lived and so on, we do have our Saturdays are the days when we do have paella. So we don't have roast dinner, and we don't gather together, and we have Yorkshire puddings, we don't do that. But we do have paella. And my brother comes home with his family and the children and cousins and neighbours, whoever my mum invites. We make the paella, she makes the paella, she puts it on the table. It takes us 3 hours to eat. We don't eat in a rush in Spain. We tidy up, we then go for a walk. Along the way, you're bound to bump into someone who you then pick up and carry on walking with. You end up having a coffee and a break and an ice cream because you've done a bit of walking and talking and you're tired. And then you carry on walking. And you go down to the promenade and you're bound to meet someone else because we're very sociable. You go to the swings, you meet someone, just by making eye contact, you're friends, you don't need to talk, that's fine. You pick them up along the way and you carry on along the promenade. So 2 hours later, you've picked about 6 or 8 people, and a group of 5 people has become a group of 13, 15 people. It gets to 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, this is digesting paella, and then we decide that it's time for tapas. So we go to a bar and we have some tapas, and you're bound to pick someone up in the bar. So a group of 5 people become a group of 20 people. By the time I go home, I've been joining people along the way. I've been collecting people, I've been sociable. And it comes naturally. It's part of my culture. So for those of you who've seen me talking to people, I tend to pick people along the way. I can't help it. I just walk and I pick people. But that's my culture and my upbringing. So that's the second factor in the formula. Then you get fate. When I started working in the business support, high technology sector, I had to go to networking events. I hadn't been to a networking event before. The networking I've done was serving in a restaurant because I was a waitress, and it was very different networking. So my perception of networking was I was going to find friends and socialize. But little did I know that the more socialize that you do is exchanging business cards. and trying to find out what the other person does for you for business. So I find it really weird and really hard to actually go home, having been to a group of people and not having found a connection or a friend or having collected someone along the way to go for a drink. And I started very much finding it was a pot of luck. So I will go to an investment network event, I will go to an incubation event, I will go to a media network event, and it was very much a pot of luck. But I was always going to meet people, interesting people, learning about what they did. It wasn't, for me, it's not about exchanging business cards. For me, it's about talking and having a conversation. So the element of luck came down there, and 12 years later, I'm still being lucky, meeting some friends. And then it was the factor of planning. So this is me with my DNA, having come from Spanish culture, having given a go to a lot of networking events and having met some people who were friends for life, and now I plan. So I plan where I go, probably who to meet, I look at the list before the event. For me, it's now an art. So I make it kind of an art of when I do networking. So this is the formula that made me the networker that I am. Now, when you go home tonight, I'd like you to look at your DNA, what is special about yourselves that you can bring to the networking that you do. What element of your culture and your upbringing can you take out to make you a bit more open-minded when you go to events? It's always going to be pot of luck. There's no doubt about it. But if you can plan ahead, you'll probably find it more useful. So that's kind of the once upon a time story. Today's the 15th of March. I'm here with a very different hat on. Now, post-it note 2. I can't move, can I? Sorry. In the new sales theory that we've learned in the past years, it's not so much about selling to sell benefits to customers, but it's very much about giving a solution to a problem in any sector. On post-it 2, I'd like you to actually write down what is it that your business solves to potential customers or the world or the UK or Oxfordshire or Unipark. What is it that your business gives a solution to a problem? But of course you have to find a problem first. Some heavy thinking there, you know? Right. Yes? And you will have seen that I like you to be a bit more innovative and think outside of the box and the whole thing. I don't need to repeat myself. This is about being more innovative and practical innovation.